everyone. Welcome to Awakened Hidden Truth with Scott Lemurian.
And
Hello,
Perry Vince. Hello, Perry.
Scott.
It
How are
takes
you?
two to tangle, and if she wasn't here doing this with me, it wouldn't be on our YouTube channel, and she wouldn't be able to have these hotel meetings and interpret English to Thai. It takes Atmas, and we're Atmas running physical bodies. We're on opposite ends, well, not so much opposite, but she's across the Pacific Ocean in Thailand. I'm in Southern California, right across the Pacific Ocean on one planet, barely a breath away. I think more in terms of how far and how long does it take to get Nerexalum, which is a planet 500 light years away, deeper beyond the seven sisters people call the Pleiades, seven stars you can see with the naked eye on Earth. And that's nothing. That distance is nothing. What about when you go into hundreds of billions of light years to get the people you know? Is there a limit on the speed of light? No. Have people created that to keep themselves stuck in this parallel dimension of matter? Yes. It's because they look at it with physical eyes and say it goes 286,000 miles an hour a second. And that's it. It can't go any faster. Blah, blah, blah. What a bunch of baloney. There's no limit to the speed of light. There's nothing stupider or more moronic to make statements and try to teach that to people in universities. Because there isn't. You speed up the vibration beyond 286,000 miles a second, it goes 486,000 miles a second. It goes 450 million miles a second, up through infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, and all the way through the multiverse. There is no limit to the omnipresent energy that's outside the planet's atmosphere, that everything floats in. It's not matter. It's not nuclear. It's not atomic. It is living energy, and it's mostly what fills all the void of space that things float in it. When people on Earth start to discover what that energy is, toroidal energy, 0-point energy, that they themselves are made of as individual beings from the source behind all life, then they'll have a key to freedom, maturity, and co-creating with vast numbers of people from other worlds to greatly change this planet. There's no technology that needs to be developed outside of Earth to free this place. The stuff they have is ancient. Turning on all the genomes on the DNA, making a body live for 10,000 years and not age, piece of cake, easy as pie. This is common knowledge, normal in many worlds outside of Earth, in our physical universe, in the Milky Way. And people on Earth haven't got a clue there's even life outside the planet. And they come here and they visit, they walk on the streets, and you wouldn't even notice them. They're very careful about trying to, how do you say it, steer people from annihilating themselves into an alternative course without directly interfering, if they can. It's not an easy job for people, a planet like Earth and its people, who don't even remember how they got on this planet. They don't remember any of it, nothing that came before. So they make up all types of stuff to placate their egos, to placate their negative emotions, their fear. Oh, a Savior's going to take me. God's going to take me to heaven. This is my only life. I live once and I'm gone. That's pretty infantile to believe that way, which means they've limited themselves down to be nothing but mortal beings. This has nothing to do with physical bodies. And if the Atma is convinced to believe that they're a mortal being and running a body that they think, oh, gee, when the body dies, maybe I do too. That's as far down in suppression of what you formerly were that you can ever be on any planet. There's no lower. To go lower would be to believe you're a rock or a mountainside or a boulder in the ground. So the only way for people on Earth to go is up. There ain't no lower. Forget about hell somewhere else. It's right here on this planet. People are living in it. All the bad things that anybody does to anybody on this planet, animals that are slaughtered thoughtlessly, people don't care the suffering that any other beings go through to satisfy their lusts and their cravings and their sadistic carnivore desires, and they wonder why life is like it is on this planet? Are you kidding? Think about it. From the perspective of most beings that travel the stars, that wouldn't think about raising animals and eating their bodies in the first place. They don't need to, wouldn't think of it. They look at people on Earth and they go, how do you fix that? How do you fix people that are so self-righteously misdirected? They would fight you to the death to protect their religion or their belief instead of actually grow up and do the religion and the belief they practice. Really do it. You got to respect all life to be sincere. And that doesn't mean just knowing about and respecting life on Earth at all. Because life on Earth is a tiny, infinite, tiny little fraction of the life that's out there in the universe and in higher dimensions. And so it is a requirement of all beings, wherever they may be, running a body on any planet, anywhere, in any dimension, that they become responsible co-creators with the source one day, sooner or later, or they are going to be stuck in compulsive reincarnation with no memory in bodies. They don't die. You can't kill anyone. You can destroy bodies right and left every day of the week, but you can't kill a being that runs that body, because the body is not who they are. It's a machine. It's a DNA machine, a mechanical device that's biologically based on carbon. And DNA was developed and created by scientists on higher dimensions long ago and tested and then brought into Earth. And then beings who volunteered began to run those bodies that were designed to run higher faculties of the spherical atma soul through the pineal gland, through that body, but not ever fall into the illusion they think they're a body or forget who they are. But over time, most of the beings in the lower dimensions of time and space have forgotten almost everything that matters at all. I wish I could say that there was a majority of planets out there that are as badly misdirected and backward as people on Earth are, but there aren't. Earth is a particularly uniquely backward planet, held backward for longer than other worlds because its poles would flip cyclically and destroy all life, and then the planet would be recolonized again and again. 100,000-year culture like the one we're in now, since the last polar flip, which destroyed Lemuria, a colony continent of Atlantis, which was 2/3 its size. There were no polar ice caps. It was tropical. Now look what we got. Different continents. Those continents are in the bottom of the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. And the planet was the other way around then. That's happened, well, 6 times I know of in 6 ice ages. Fortunately, the cyclic flipping of those planets' poles was corrected by what we call the silent mentors. Or we'd all be dead already. Forget nuclear war, we wouldn't even need it. Flip the planets. Tidal waves 1,000 feet high, 1,000 miles an hour. Forget it, you ain't gonna survive it. Earthquakes off the Richter scale at 30 or 50 or 60. Whole continents leveling up and sinking. You don't survive that. So that means all the people back then were killed all over the Earth except those that could get off the planet, were masters who had the ability to move through interdimensional doorways and leave when it happened. Who knew? And believe me when I say it's not the first time. It's happened many times. There was a nuclear war on this planet millions of years ago. There's evidence of it. Scientists are classified. They won't talk about it. They know it happened here. Nuclear weapons are not new. They didn't get invented on Earth by a bunch of German scientists in World War II or after World War II. The technology was known in the universe and banned. It's illegal. Except when some tyrant people sneak it into scientists who are already corrupt and evil to get it into Earth so they can get them to destroy themselves and then just take the resources. There are beings out there that think this way. Less and less as time goes on. And the ones that had come to Earth that are that tyrant in nature have been removed from our solar system permanently. They are in labs under the ground. Nazis aren't in Antarctica. This is what people are putting out there because of fear. Fear drives them subconsciously. And they're putting out messages like that is not only is it not beneficial to anyone, it's harmful. It doesn't free anyone from anything. And it doesn't provide the experiences people need to get free of fear. Fear is an artificially created, implanted emotion, negative. And people don't even know where it was done to them. They just know they're living it here, another lifetime. They got stuck in a body here without any choice. You think that some God up there said, Perry, you and Scott are going to go to Earth with no memory. You're going to be dumber than bricks, and we're going to wipe out everything you ever did, and then you're going to try and do things right. What? How can anybody do things right if you don't have your journey in eternity through billions of lives at your disposal to draw wisdom from? How can you get anything right? Well, you can't. You're just going to make more mistakes. Earth has been used as a political planet to suppress and imprison Atmas. Can't kill an Atma. You can do things to convince it to be, I'm in a body, I'm stuck here, I can't get out. If I get out, I'll be eaten alive again by a tyrant or reptilian or something like that. These are just programs. They are not little chips under the skin. No. They are in the energy field that surrounds a being. And a person looks through those holographic 3D terror, torture, domination, and they're afraid to go out of their body. They're afraid to go outside of Earth's atmosphere, afraid to do anything. And they're stuck here. So the job of beings in the new ray and in the hue that we talk about is to carefully get people when they're out of bodies at night, everyone leaves their body at night, is to get them to recover more confidence and awareness of things they were made to forget one way or another in their galactic journey through history in many lives, and be able to apply it to the body they have on Earth while it's still alive. Change the parameters, change the conditions, change the future destiny of that person. And it's required that that person choose to change it for themselves. They get the help, the guidance, the assistance, the energy, that most people won't lift a finger to change anything, even if it's given to them on a golden platter. Turn this key in this lock and you get free. They won't touch it. They probably couldn't even see it if it was offered to them. Their fear would blind them to see it. They'd be convinced they don't want that, because then they have to be responsible as beings for the energy they use and how they use it. That's required. If they don't want to do that, then they want to be taken care of by a tyrant. They want to be told what to do. They want a government to lord things over them. And so they support the very problems we have on this planet. The masses of people do that. They don't have to. They're brainwashed to it from birth. Their parents were brainwashed to it from birth. How can you expect people to recover that far down the scale of remembering anything worthwhile? As a being, not a body, not a brain, not a body in one lifetime or one brain. Ask yourself what you've learned through your whole life here in any university or college, if it taught you any of this stuff or had anything to do with anything worthwhile. And you grow up as an adult and you don't have an inkling of all the stuff that's out beyond this world because nobody tells it to you. Then how are you going to grow up as an adult and imagine anything to get yourself free? So the first thing is people need to be taken on journeys so they can be with a guide of some kind, so they can begin to remember how to see in the multidimensional universe, how to know things again, how to turn on long dormant faculties they're afraid to turn on because they blew up a planet once or did something 4 billion years ago. So what? No one's holding a penalty over their head for making mistakes and learning. So a person, when they learn that this is just experience and lets go of this self-punishment, the karma ends right there. That's the payment. Conscious awakening is the payment for bad karma. Nothing else. So I wanted to say that because it's been said different ways many times, but it bears repeating because it sneaks through into people's frightened consciousness and begins to The hue begins the omnipresent living power out there. The first word, the original word behind creation, is a sound. It's not a physical plane sound. It's a primary source or prime creator sound from a reality far above what the Buddhists call the void, way up higher than that. It is a multi-dimensional universe. Primary divisions separated by barriers or voids, not just the big void above the etheric plane, but there's little voids between all of them. And so there are barriers in order to keep the creation structure intact. And then there's 144 parallel planes between each of those with planets and galaxies and people on it. It's just immense. And that's just the lower planes of time and space. The upper worlds are much bigger than all of that. The Atma plane's bigger than all the lower dimensions put together. Go figure. The hue is the first half of the word human. No one on this earth, no being that's ever lived on this earth, created it. No one can claim ownership of it. If they do, they are a fool and they are in deep doo-doo, deep trouble. Because it is the omnipresent power in the entire universe supporting all of it. Right outside the atmosphere and space, it is a white golden field of light. Human eyes can't see it because they see a very small spectrum of the band of light. So they don't see it but black. Even if you see it on a photograph, it still appears black to human eyes. But when you get out of the body and see with your real self, it shows itself to you. That's what people on Earth call toroidal energy, 0 point energy. 0 point energy. What does that mean? It basically means that it's an energy that is not nuclear, not atomic. You can't pin it down. You can't say it's electrons and protons and neutrons because those are all much bigger things. That energy that supports it is much finer, and it's not nuclear or atomic in nature. And it's a telepathic medium. I didn't say psychic, telepathic. That is the communication network that exists between all beings, running bodies on all planes and all planets everywhere. And when we learn how to plug into that, we get outside the negative atmosphere of Earth and we plug into it, then we can see and know things anywhere in creation, go and be anywhere. The master teachers that work with beings who begin to do this can show people the ropes in all the different dimensions and help them remember how to circumnavigate it, how to get around it, how to know where to go. If I want to go to Nerexlum, how do I know where it is? How do I know how to circumnavigate all those stars 500 light years away and then get right there? What's the sun that it orbits? Where is it amongst those billions of stars? How about if I want to go to Andromeda and sit at the galactic council they have there? How do I go to the capital city of the astral plane, Sahasradal, Cornwall? Some people call it that. The people there might call it a little differently. But it's the connecting link for beings, not bodies, is the hue, the first sound. It cannot be patented. It cannot be owned, possessed, held in your hands. Physical hands can't even hold the light and sound. It's not the atoms in the air. It's behind it. Only the Atma, the being itself, made of the same energy from the source, can move in it, communicate in it, and travel in it. There are no limits of the speed of light, time and space, molecules or atoms or gravity or black holes that can affect or influence the Atma itself because it's not made of these things. An Atma can travel right through the pole of a galaxy and go right up into other dimensions without a spaceship. There are some ships that can do that. Very advanced. Very rarely done, that can travel through those poles. But they have to transform their energy from one matter to another as they move upward. Because you can't take a ship made like the Emerald Star cruiser stationed in the ice rings of the planet Saturn in our solar system right now from the Galactic Alliance, cannot go up through that portal. If it could, it would have to go this way, and then it would have to change its molecular structure all the way up, went through the astral and causal. It would become a light ship not even made of matter to get across the void. There are very few beings capable of doing that. The Sayres were capable of doing it between the astral plane, a whole other division, and the physical universes. They could go between them. I know of no other race that was able to do that. So how ancient are the Sayres, and why do I speak of them? Why even talk about them at all? Because they are responsible for the body forms you see flying spacecraft, whether they're now tyrant or benevolent, whether they're reptilian or grays or mantis or tall whites or Nordics or other humans from other worlds or humanoid or snake-like skin or anything you can think of. The Drens, like Etta. The Sayres were largely responsible for producing genetic bodies that Atmas could run, these higher genetic forms. The Drens can levitate and fly through the air with a physical body because they're silica-based, not carbon. They're telepathic. They have photographic memories. They have beautiful singing voices. They have vocal cords. They can talk with you, or you can hear them speak to you in your head, which is normal, by the way, for a normal human to be able to do that. On Earth, people call it intuition. It means some young guy full of hormones and the woman, some beautiful woman with a tight little body walking across the street. And the guy says, wow, that's something. She turns around and looks him right in the eyes from across the street. Isn't even conscious why she heard him, but she heard him. She turns around and either smiles or reacts negatively to it, depending on what he was thinking. But the point is, it's telepathic. People call that intuition because they don't know what it is anymore. People do it. They're just not conscious of it. So on these journeys we do, like this, we call a radio show. We go on these journeys outside of the negative atmosphere of planet Earth for one good reason. We go out to get outside of the atmosphere that surrounds Earth that's full of negative emotions and imaginations of all the things anyone's ever done to each other since people and animals started living here, including dinosaurs. It's not a pretty picture when you try to wake up in an environment that's full of all these past destructive deeds floating around the atmosphere, and people pick up on them sometimes and let them in. And they act out scenarios that were done on other worlds or even on Earth in the past, or they just start shooting people or do something stupid because they focused on negative things until that which is negative outside comes in. And then the subconscious implants from other lives and other experiences kick in and runs their nervous system for a short time enough for them to be destructive. Let's put it that way. So when you start working with the hue, it provides a certain protection so that people are not vulnerable to such things. The only way any individual ever experienced this is to go into the hue and have the experience for themselves. I can't give it to them. I can demonstrate it. I can live it. I can be an example of it. I can give them instructions. I can give them books. I can give them techniques. I can take them on journeys. But ultimately, the purpose of all of that is so they'll do it for themselves at some point. So when you talk about, when you hear me speak, you hear the source behind all life speaking. Well, it's true because I'm at the source right now. I'm also running this body here at the same moment in eternity, simultaneously. And so is everyone else. They've just been long made to forget all this, which means every single being running a body has a great destiny, a great co-creative destiny with the source behind all life. And they have no idea this is true, the way they are. So if we ask ourselves what it takes to fix people so backwards, so upside down, and so misdirected, and so unconscious, and so afraid of anything resembling real truth, beyond the little life they grew up in, that's a big challenge, even for the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds. That organization is stationed on a planet much bigger than Earth, near the galactic core of this galaxy. Not in it, near it. It has 3 planets circling it with no polar ice caps. It doesn't either. Have life on them in cities the size of Earth. It's 4 times bigger than Earth. And it revolves around a trinary sun system. Big sun, yellow sun like ours circling it, a little red one, maybe a red dwarf circling it, the planets circling all three. That's why there are no polar ice caps. And that's why life there is so much more advanced. Human life. Those people don't live these minuscule 80 or 90, 100-year lifetimes like on Earth. The telomeres on their DNA do not shrink when their cells divide. They don't have polluted atmospheres or polluted food or perverted compulsive behaviors to slaughter animals and eat their flesh. I don't tell people to be a vegetarian. That's impossible. I say, you go into the U long enough and you'll drop it like a lead brick. At some point you will, because it's not normal or natural. At that point, you'll also discover other alternatives for food and things that are far better for you. At some point, you go into a state where you don't even need to eat food anymore or eliminate, and you still appear human. The genetic structure changes. That's a pretty advanced state to go through an experience of that while your body's around on a planet. It starts to change like that. It's not something that can take place while you demonstrate it to the whole world watching, because they'll kill you, they'll destroy you, they'll be afraid of you. Governments will take you and put you in laboratories out of fear. You cannot evolve that way on a public like this planet has, because people will see it stand out like a light bulb in a dark room. They won't understand it, they'll fear it, and they'll attack it without even knowing why they're doing it. As I've said, if a ship with a man and a woman, handsome man and woman about 36, comes and lands in a 30-foot disc in your frickin' backyard right now on this earth and said, come aboard, the people who claim right now on this planet they would do it without hesitation will run the other way in terror, because the subconscious things that are still in them, they haven't taken responsibility for, will drive their nervous system that way. So there's no point to land and pick people up now, is there? Because they won't get on board anyway. Think about it. So, to experience the common nature of riding around in a big super bus called a spaceship, going from point A to B, much beyond the speed of light, a person has to be able to walk in their own gravity, in their own center, respecting themselves and the beings that would give them this opportunity. You can't be, oh my God, they're angelic, they're so far above me. They'll just kick you out of the ship. They don't want anything to do with you. They don't have time for that childish behavior, no. So they're focusing on getting people to let go of their deepest subconscious fears first, so they can then have such experiences and keep them and keep going forward and not backwards. As a being recovers more of who they are, the energy that flows around them is greater. And if they don't know how to wield it properly, it will burn out their nervous system, destroy their physical body. It won't hurt them, but it could kill a body instantly. So there's the fears, which are negative resistance to truth, in programs put in the field around a person's body through which they look at the universe, or around the spherical being they are that hovers above it and controls it. What is in there has to first be dealt with responsibly and awakened, so that more energy can flow through you and your nervous system without damaging you. It's clear, right? It's so easy to understand. The reason you nod now is because you know this now. A few years ago, you didn't. You do now, because you're much more intelligent and awake than you were then. So you can comprehend these things like, yeah, it's common knowledge. How come I forgot that, right? Okay. We've been working with one or two people on this earth who are very wealthy, who have realized the futility of collecting things and having power and homes and money, that it just is pointless. You can't take it with you. And they're being worked with in order to be able to part with a small part of what they have to support what I'm doing. I'm being quite upfront right now. They know who they are. They have to have the courage to contact me at some point. This isn't about using anyone. The beings that I'm talking about, they're being worked this with, will be benefited greatly because they will be able to recover who they are. That is not limited to this lifetime. It's part of doing good deeds, I suppose, to get something somewhere, because it's an act that takes a lot of courage. If you grow up multi-billionaire and you're attached to all this power and money, and you're surrounded by people that envy you or even worship you or idolize you, it can be a trap for that being. Beings in those positions know that it's kind of a trap. They just don't know how to get out of it. So they need the help to get out of it just like anyone else. There'll be a time when I'll be contacted by a certain person, man or woman, I won't say which, and this will take this work into a state where a transformation on this world can take place. I'm in the process of publishing 2 more books. They're called the Parallel Time Trilogy. The first one is published, The Emerald Doorway. The next 2 are going through the final editing processes to publish. The covers are already done so that book 2 and 3 can come out to this world. The Savior's Agenda is published too. That's 4 books. The Savior's Agenda is a doorway of deliberately hidden, revealed truth about the nature of beings and energies outside this earth and up through the dimensions that have a place in helping Earth transform without destroying itself again. Which means the consciousness of beings outside of Earth and those great advanced civilizations have recently gone through a great big change of their own, including the Sayrays themselves. Ambassador Trellian and I got acquainted when I was in the trance state, out of my body, exploring and writing the Sayrays Agenda. That's how he was introduced to me. Not on this earth. On a planet called Zinteramus 1 near the galactic core of this galaxy, where I traveled to. And so I got to learn from direct experience, with their help, how to compile a book that has special techniques at the back and a whole glossary of characters and terms, which normally you'll never find in a book published as mind, body, spirit, UFO, extraterrestrial. Truth, nonfiction, and action adventure as fiction. I only had those 2 choices and I needed both. It's the only way I could publish on this planet. If I published the books as absolute truth, nonfiction, everybody would be wanting me to prove to them everything that's in those books. And the only way they'll ever have that experience is if I can assist them to have their own experience about it for themselves, where they know it with certainty. Otherwise, it's just me saying things. So do you want to add something?
Yeah, can I add up some to this topic? Some people in Thailand, they use the techniques on your book, on the back of your books, and the experience, to start to remember who they are, keep coming. It was amazing to them, and they are happier and happier. And that's it I want to share with you.
Well, I appreciate your doing that. You are also equally responsible for having opened a doorway for them because they don't read English. And so when we do these little hotel meetings, 90 people or so, every so often, 3 or 4 months out of each year, I do a presentation, take people on journeys out of the whole hotel, the whole thing, all the participants. And Perry, who has the dignity and intelligence to translate from English into Thai, I do say one little thing and she translates it into Thai. These people have the books, but they don't read them. I told them to put them under their pillow at night, because when they're out of their body every night, and everybody leaves their body every night, no matter how unconscious they are. When they meet with beings who can speak Thai fluently in every language. So they won't have to be confused about language. Plus, when they're out of their bodies, outside of Earth, meeting with these people, they understand other languages too. They're an Atma. They're not a body and a brain limited to training in one life on a planet. That changes. The bodies are kept back in the hotel room in the trance state called sleep, just like they put it in every night. And with the what we call daydreaming or the creative imagination, which is not made up in the brain. The brain does not have a capability to imagine anything in a human being. That's not its purpose or function. There's no camera in there that projects a picture on a movie screen in your brain cells. Can't work because that's not taking place in the brain. When someone imagines something, it's actually the being running that body that's imagining it somewhere. And imagination is seeing it somewhere else. If people were taught this on Earth, this planet would be transformed virtually overnight. Because then people begin to realize and remember that imagination must be used correctly, or it can trap you. Because that omnipresent 0-point energy, that field of energy out there, is a co-creator with us. We are co-creators with it. It's expecting us to grow up and know how to only imagine good, beneficial, kind things for all life. And if we refuse to do it, it will co-create whatever we imagine, good and bad and both together, and we get trapped by it. We trap ourselves. Or tyrants figure out how to misuse technology to get you to trap yourself. That's been in galactic history too. That's how people ended up on this world with no memory. That is all reversible, but not if you don't understand it. It goes beyond belief or faith. You have to be confident with what you're doing to get this omnipresent living force to work with you to set you free, what people call divine spirit. It does not coddle babies or spoiled children. It stands aside, lets them annihilate themselves. If they're going to do it, it's not its fault. But it does provide teachers and beings to help encourage people to step away from that. And those beings are on this earth, and they are coming to this earth in ships, and they're often leaving their bodies while others run the ship and coming down here and doing things. Because if they weren't here, if there wasn't a base inside Mount Shasta in Northern California, and there are many, if it wasn't there manned by extraterrestrial, human, and other races right now, starting in 1908, this planet would have been ended, destroyed already by the people here who couldn't help themselves. They would have blown this place up in nuclear war shortly after they got them. And along the way during the Cold War, they tried. Their launch computers were shut down from space. Do you think the Pentagon in the United States or anybody else can come out and tell them the truth of this? Because if they did, then no people on Earth would know their militaries can't protect them from outside. The problem is that they still operate from fear, but the beings outside of here have never threatened them. When they've been shot at by beam weapons and tried to be shot down, they never responded in kind. They never retaliated. And people on Earth are so dumbed down and misdirected, they don't stop to think about the rational obviousness of this statement. They did not retaliate. They could have wiped out life on this planet in 5 minutes if they wanted to. They have the ability to melt New York City, all of its atoms, all the buildings, back into the nature was there before they tore it all up and built all that stuff. It's revealed in the Sayre's Agenda book, the technology they have. This is just an understanding of how to recombine molecules that make up matter. And the ability to do it must come from understanding of the toroidal 0-point energy behind it to do that, or you can't do that. There are beings in the universe called silent mentors that are the mechanics who maintain the structure of creation. They guard the doorways between dimensions. They don't prevent certain tyrants or other beings from coming through them, well, to some degree, but they're not allowed to circumnavigate the multidimensional universe in craft. There are preventative measures in place. So there are limits to the nature of negativity and negative beings and their technology and misuse of it anyway. None of that is meant to be permanent. It's not meant to last. And when I do that, I'm hearing the thunder that rumbles under the physical universe, out in space, The white golden light has a sound to it. So I tune into it. If I go up into a higher dimension, it's a different sound. But it's still coming from the one omnipresent living hue, first sound behind creation, first word, from the source itself. And that source is not in the four lower dimensions of time and space where people think heaven is. Astral, causal, mental, etheric, where people's bodies are transparent, physical bodies. That's not freedom. That's still in the lower worlds of time and space. The being has to have the courage to transfer. Imagine going across the void. And if you're an advanced disciplined student or chela or a guru, and you don't know what to imagine across that void, you cannot go there, period. No matter who you are. You have to first imagine going across it with the omnipresent power. It is the one power that manifests all things we imagine. We don't do that. And it will bring you there. In other words, you ride on the imagination, suddenly you're there. And it's co-creating you being able to understand the nature of the energy, be above the void, which is completely different than the energy that supports the lower worlds of time and space. It's still the hue. And it's on different vibrational levels to support different levels of matter on different vibrational time rates. Here's a parallel dimension, the one you're aware of on Earth. All the molecules, all the matter, the polar ice caps, all the people, all the plants, all the cars, all the planes, all the rocks, all the ocean, they vibrate at the same time rate. That's why two objects vibrating at the same time rate cannot go through each other. As a being, or even in advanced technology, if you can change the molecular time rate of this, it'll pass right through this. There are no launch bays on the Emerald Star cruiser stationed in the ice rings in the planet Saturn in this solar system. Ships go through the hull, raise their molecular time rate, pass right through it, lower it, and land. Those ships are designed to go through interdimensional tunnels that exist throughout creation. There are ways for beings who know how to move through them to go to different realities very quickly. To make anti-gravity work properly, or a ship that's powered with no rockets, no fins, no wings, no rudders, and it can go this and do that and go like this, you have to have an understanding of the toroidal zero-point energy and how it works with matter. That's it. If you don't have that understanding, you will not go very far in a million years from now. You can have an anti-gravity ship reverse engineered on this planet and take it out in the solar system, but you cannot take it to other star systems. That requires a telepathic function of an atma, running a body and running technology. When people find this out someday on Earth, they'll understand how more advanced spacefaring races work. It's not like they think. If they think there's a limit to the speed of light, they will never be able to do it. Never. Trapping themselves with that limited thought. People tell people on Earth that, oh my goodness, all those billions of galaxies far away we see, why that happened then, they're probably destroyed. That whatever that light took to get to us, why that was a billion years ago. This is not true. All that stuff they're seeing out there is taking place right now. They've got themselves trapped in a corner with their limited, infantile, quite silly considerations on how energy and space and time work and how the energy supporting it works differently. I bring this out to the world because I came to this planet to do this. A long time ago, to talk with leaders here and start this transformation before they wipe this place out. I'm not the only one that's come here to do this and been turned down by governments here out of their fear and stupidity and paranoia. And all along, they're still doing this. They still refuse to cooperate properly with more advanced races because they're afraid their own nature will have to change, and it will. They're afraid that they will have to grow up and take their place amongst the universe, which we have to do if we want to accept the technology and abilities of these greater beings. I don't want to say greater, more capable, subconsciously free beings who know how to get rid of that bugger, the subconscious. People on Earth don't know how to do this at all. There's no science on Earth for it whatsoever, anywhere. No matter what anybody tells you. The real deal is outside of this Earth. If we want it, we have to play ball with races that already occupy space and planets and worlds and suns. We do not have the right to go out there and take their territory and do what the hell we want with it. And they're not going to tolerate us doing it in the first place. So this solar system is quarantined, and not by people on Earth. It's for our own good. It's to protect us from wreaking havoc out there. The tyrant beings that snuck into this planet have been removed, sent out of our solar system, not by people on Earth. There's no little grays abducting anybody here anymore. That ended decades ago. And people on Earth don't know this, so they're still operating in fear in most of what they do and say. That's destructive. There's no constructive outcome to put out fear of the present and future to any of your fellow beings, because it's only a negative outcome then. It is the primary law of one of the primary laws of physics. This deals with thought and emotion. Every action creates an equal and opposite reaction in time-space, in the lower dimensions. If we want to get beyond that and be free of that, we have to operate as the beings we are, not the bodies and brains we're running. Because that energy is of the same nature as the energy that supports the whole creation. It's identical. When we co-create with the source far above the void known to certain Buddhists and certain esoteric groups on Earth, we begin to be able to create new ways of doing things by our passionate desire and dedication to bring something better, something to the source when we return, not just ask for handouts from it. We're supposed to return and offer our unique individuality that we've learned through many incarnations on many worlds to it. Because that's how it learns to do something different from us. We're made of the same energy as the source, what people call God, the Supreme Being itself, identical, like a drop of this pure spherical energy out of this huge ocean of it. This is individual. This is not. That whole energy field is living conscious energy, but it's not an individual. So we have this great privilege as individuals to co-create with that source and change things for the better. It's our great opportunity to do this. When people on Earth finally discover this, this place will be a paradise. The technology to make it that way is ancient. Ancient. No one's going to come here and free everybody here and give it to us, acting like spoiled snots, I'm sorry to say it, who just want everything done for them without them getting off their ass and doing anything to change anything. So the energy is underway to get people to be responsible again, to have courage, to recover what they were made to forget. And they were made to forget it. Make no mistake about it. They were. And most people are very afraid to look back at what happened and why. But doing so makes it possible for them to let go of it. And it's only a conscious memory now and not affecting them subconsciously in a negative way. The hue, when consciously applied to the greater hue, the hue that you are, it begins to see you for the first time all the way down here, running a body on Earth. And it says, oh, there's Perry. Oh, there's Scott. Oh, I guess they're ready to come home. I guess I'll pull them home, practical, while they're living, they start to have these experiences. And so the you becomes the master teacher, not an individual, but it works through many master teacher individuals to assist us as well. Terrellian, Opelum, Satnam, Ramu, Eta, Din, beings from other worlds, carbon-based, silica-based. I don't care what form the Atma is running. Some beings that don't look human at all are much more loving and kind than people on Earth even understand. And if you can't respect that, you are an idiot. You cannot play in the universe because they won't let you. There's no future for this planet like Star Trek, the way people are here. Period. There isn't one. Because the beings out there aren't going to allow us to go out there and screw things up the way everybody does on Earth right now. They do not live like people on Earth, and they're not going to allow us to come and preach our negative nonsense on them, to tell them self-righteously where to get off. Because they're way more advanced than us about everything. The source, the prime creator, they know more about it than anybody on Earth. And we don't have the right to preach to them when we're so ignorant. We can't even get up and get out of our own bodies. This is a problem for people on Earth. No, I'm not angry. I don't work with anger. But I am very firm about delivering the truth to people because I can. No one's coming to my door to stop me. No men in black. They're not shutting off the satellite link. The military-industrial complex is not doing that. Ask yourself why. Because this benefits them, and they know it. Disclosure of the existence of advanced extraterrestrial life for this world and this parallel dimension is underway through the Pentagon, the United States, and some other countries. But basically, the Pentagon, the US is controlling that, the timing of it, because there are beings from off-world that are helping them do it in the right way so that there's the destruction isn't part of it. Destruction you see going on Earth right now has nothing to do with this. It's the remnants of people striking out from fear and paranoia, unjustified, why they think they can protect their wealth and the things they think they own and possess, which they don't and never have. Nobody possesses anything on this planet. We are supposed to be custodians or caretakers of this planet, the people, the nature, the mammals, the plants, the animals, all of it. That is our assigned task, just for the bodies we're running here. People are not doing this. Governments and religions are not doing this. They're making decisions based on fear, their own personal trauma, and that's only destructive. There are limitations to how much destruction beings from elsewhere will tolerate us doing here. And when they step in, the leaders and people in power now will be removed. They won't be killed. They'll just be taken somewhere where training can change the way they're misdirecting and misbehaving. If a push comes to shove, the hue can radically change environments, whether anybody likes it or not on Earth. That can be very traumatic and stressful for people thrown into the midst of that great change. Beings from elsewhere understand this, so they're taking very careful precaution to go through disclosure carefully. I agree with this. My colleagues off-world agree with this because it's rational. Because we're not about destruction in order to make change. No one I know wants to run governments on Earth. We want people running governments on Earth to become benevolent and kind, without fear, without subconscious drives, misdirecting their actions, as it is now. When I send out the tones, I'm connecting with various dimensional planes. It's a simple fact. I am. And there are many beings extremely advanced, that send out this you with me who are stationed outside the atmosphere of this planet right now. Some in ships, some as beings without bodies. Their bodies are somewhere else in a sleep state or trance state, on ships, on other planets, even other dimensions. And they simply come here as the real beings they are and work with Torellian and myself and Perry and others to escort people on journeys beyond the earth life, out into the dimensions, to other worlds, to other realities, because they are there, because we can. Imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful they are in your life, a person, place, or thing. Make certain it is genuine. Meaning that you really smile inside when you think of whatever that is, a child's smile, a butterfly, a waterfall, the ocean, brilliant stars in space, being on an intergalactic mothership, enjoying tea with fellow passengers, being able to have that tea and drink it, put down the cup and leave your body and go even higher than that ship can go, and come back and tell people about it. Maybe even escort them there too. So when I put out the hue, it's connecting to the dimensions which people hear about, some people, that exist in higher frequency than the physical world of Earth. Astral is the emotional plane. It's the next major division. There's a barrier between the astral and the physical. It's 144 parallel dimensions of Earths, different Earths, and they are different in different parallel time rates at different molecular time rates before you even get to the astral. Then the matter changes. Emotion moves matter in the astral plane. Call it the next heaven above Earth. But there are wars and evil and negativity there too. You get up to the causal plane and everything is done through the conscious act of causing something and seeing its effect in time space. So they're very much more careful about what they think about or imagine because it will come back much more quickly. You get up into the mental plane, the next division, very high up, higher heaven, let's say. And thought, instant thought manifests things with the hue. It's much finer. So you got to be more careful. Get up in the etheric plane, and bodies and molecules are more transparent because there's very little negativity mixed with the positive energy that's in that plane. And so people have lives that are millions of years old. They don't eat and excrete there. You want to go across the void, there's this big barrier of cobalt blue energy, let's call it. There's no structures or physical matter or any form there. Actually, there is. But the beings and those structures are invisible to people crossing that void in ignorance. If they're not ready to respect all life, you will not make those beings. You won't see them. So some people say the void is God, the end of all. There's nothing else. It's a void. It isn't. And if you know how to cross that void, you come to the realm of the Atma plane. You come to the realm of Satnam. It means true name, first word, first manifestation. And you can befriend that being. When you come into that plane, the energy becomes pure positive. There is no opposites, no positive and negative. No worlds, no moons, no planets, no suns, no stars, no galaxies. And what is there in creation and manifested in form is pure energy. And beings maintain it for the benefit of others. And then you go up many planes above that to get to what's called the ocean of sound and light, which is what you would call source, prime creator, supreme being. Each of us as a spherical Atma make up collectively what is the supreme being, operating as a nexus, which is the connective energy for all the wisdom and all the beings and all the planes and all creation manifested in one spot. And you can communicate with this source and you can understand this source because you're part of it. It does not require that we worship it. It requires that we respect it and each other and all life in the grand multidimensional creation. Until you do that, you will not know true free will or true freedom. It is required. Imagine someone you respect and love, you're grateful they're in your life. Could be a past master. Could be someone you believe will save you. Doesn't matter as long as the heart energy is there. Then the first sound, which is missing from all books on earth, except in mine, a few others, is revealed. That sound, first half of the word human, hu, did not get created on earth. It was imported to this planet from billions of years in ancient galactic history, and then up through the planes where it was brought into existence before the worlds of time and space were built. This first primordial sound vibrates through and underlies all things that is in creation on all the dimensional levels. It is the energy of the universe. It is not nuclear. It is powerful energy, but it's not nuclear atomic in nature. I'll begin those tones now. If you have your eyes closed, you're lying down or sitting down comfortably. Take several deep breaths. Simply put aside in your imagination any concerns you have for your life on earth, whatever that may be, just for now. Understand that when you use daydreaming, the creative imagination, which everybody can do without effort, without really understanding what they're doing. You can daydream when you're in a classroom looking out the window at the parking lot, you're on a beach, you're in a mountain or another planet. That's how writers write what they see. They didn't learn it on Earth. They didn't get it from Earth. They didn't get it in books on Earth. They didn't get it from university or from a PhD teacher. They got it from other realities. Maybe unconsciously, they go into a trance and they write feverishly. I know this from my own direct experience over this entire lifetime and many others. And then they say, I created this in my brain. This is not true. They didn't, because they never learned it in their brain growing up. So how could they do that? Common sense. So since there is no imaginative faculty in the human brain, that's not its function or purpose. When you imagine or daydream something, who or what is doing the imagining? You are, the real you. And that real you is spherical, just like a planet, a moon, a sun are round, because they are made in the image of their creators. There is a structure to the Atma, to the soul. It has a white golden core. It has layers of teardrop-shaped self-effulgent lights covering the spectrum of light to a violet exterior with a golden energy field around it. It is round. Each layer has a number of levels of these teardrops, and each teardrop is a faculty of being, not the brain or body of a lifetime. And each one of those levels corresponds to a dimension in the multidimensional creation. Because you are running bodies on more levels at one time right now than just the one you're running on Earth, even if you have been forced to forget it. That means you're responsible for running at least 5 bodies on different dimensional realities, living out lifetimes very different from here at the same moment as a single being. When you just imagine daydreaming that you're up near the ceiling where you live looking down on your body, just what's it like to look down on that body sitting there with its eyes closed? Whether you know it or not, that body goes into the trance state called sleep. You put it in every night anyway, without any effort. A very complex process you've mastered and yet been made to forget everything else. So you go out of your body every night, but if you're not trained from birth on this planet to bring it back or know how to use higher faculties to do that, you don't. Doesn't mean you don't have experience that's stored in the atma you are, but you don't bring it through the brain, through the pineal gland, into the toroidal field that surrounds your physical body, so you don't know it. Be by the ceiling looking at your body. You can look right through the walls and you can see the surrounding terrain and buildings near where you live. In this state, your eyes are turned off. This is why I recommend that people close their eyes. It takes a very advanced being to have their eyes, physical eyes open while they're seeing into the other realities. And some people use it as an excuse not to do the work to wake up. Because the eyes, when you shut them off, turns off that part of the brain that allows light and information to come into you from outside on this earth. When you do that, something else opens up. It has to do with a door in the pineal gland in the center of the brain. And then as your body goes into sleep and the heart circulation, blood is all working on automatic, you're able to run that from billions of light years away through the hue, through a connective energy, and keep it working just fine while you're out on journeys. Imagine being outside the atmosphere of planet Earth, out in space, right now. Everyone is seeing space shuttle pictures of Earth, satellite pictures of Earth, the polar ice caps, the oceans, the land, the barren meteor crater moon that doesn't turn on its axis, always circles the planet, showing us the same half of the moon. The sun in the distance, billions of stars that make up the Milky Way galaxy we live in. And when you're out in space, as the Atma, hovering around a friend of mine, a being who serves as the focal point to keep us focused on being constructive, on getting some benefit from these journeys, along with myself and others. He is Ambassador Terrellian from the Say race human race. When they had physical bodies, they were 18 to 25 feet tall. 8-stranded DNA. We have 2, but we get our genome structure originally from them. They immortalized their physical bodies over 1 billion Earth years ago. They were instrumental in seeding life, higher forms like human and others, that Atmas could run higher faculties through, machines really. And they were instrumental in seeding them throughout this galaxy, Andromeda and many others, and then they vanished from creation to see what we would do with it. Not a pretty picture. So they've returned recently, which is how I met Terillian, in order to help be responsible for the mess that things are and help guide people out of it. They're very jovial, very serene. They have no fear, and they do not have subconscious minds at all. We are not meant to. So out in the universe, the human races which are most evolved and wondrous do not have subconscious influences of any kind. They've done away with it. If people on Earth want that freedom, they're going to have to ask for it, and they're going to have to be humble, not subservient, because these beings won't treat us like we're less than them. But we have to be respectful. Because when you're respectful, you do no harm. And when you're that way, you can be trusted to play out in the universe with others. When you're in space, you are a spherical being. Space is lit up by the light coming from your center. And out in front of you, a few feet, is a body that looks just like you, 36 years old, perfect, flawless, strong, trim, handsome, beautiful, about 36, ageless, looks like a physical body. It looks like you, but it's perfect. And you're showing this as a projection of energy from the white core of the spherical being you are to others, so we can see and talk and communicate with each other. But it is not physical matter. Terillian has an 18-foot tall body standing in the center of the circle of beings, Perry and myself, and there are many others. And more will join this when they hear or go on the journey of this recorded journey that will be on Perry's YouTube channel about these radio shows. You are not charged any money for this. There's no hidden agenda or covert anything going on with this. It is freely given to you from other beings and other realities. There's no price tag attached. None. Not for this. If someone comes to a conference at a hotel, the cost of doing it has to be covered somehow. But the actual beneficial nature of what this is has no monetary system attached to it. When you're in space, you do not feel heat and cold from outer space, sub-zero. You don't feel radiation from the sun, but you do see that all that supposed black energy you've seen in Hubble Space Telescope images is not black at all. It's white golden light everywhere. The planet Earth and the moon and the sun and all the stars can see clearly floating in this other background energy that supports it. 0 point, toroidal, the conscious living energy of the universe. It doesn't matter what people on Earth think or believe. It is what it is, and people on Earth are going to have to catch up to that understanding. It does not work the other way around. You can see this white golden light everywhere because you are an Atma. The body you're manifesting here can see it with the eyes it has, but those are energy. They're connected to the white core of your being that's running this body form here. Terillian has long, slightly curly hair down to his blonde hair to his shoulders, big blue eyes, crystal clear, kind of a Greek-like gown, bare feet, and he's holding two thumbs up with a golden white light around each one that he's brought here from the Atma plane where Satnam is, across the void above it. Puts out a field of energy that's protected out in space. Out in space, this hue energy, you cannot send any negative thought or feeling into it. It cannot be recorded there. It does not get impressed there. It stays back on Earth with your sleeping body turned off. There are men and women from the Galactic Alliance and master teachers assigned to each person on this journey that make sure those stay off back on Earth while you're on the journey so you can gain some benefit from it. And then return, hopefully, and download this experience into the pineal gland through the brain and body and personality you grew up with on Earth so it can become more enlightened. There are other beings here from the Galactic Alliance. There are a dozen Galactic Alliance Council members in white robes with a golden sash from the right shoulder to left hip. And they are in bare feet. And they are older appearing than, say, you, 36, but healthy and trim. There are 12 out of 5,000 that represent over 450 million spacefaring worlds in our galaxy, and just a little under half of it alone. On the other side of our galaxy is a race of beings, humanoid, very tall, or 10 feet or so, with silver metallic-like hair, but it's soft, but it looks like silver metal. Violet eyes and moonstone ivory skin, taller necks and longer fingers and feet, legs. And they're standing to the left side of Terrellian. Violet eyes, very elegant. They move like a swan. And they're showing the body forms they have on that planet called zinteramus 1. And it's on the other side of the Milky Way. It's also much bigger than Earth, has 3 moons around it, and also orbits a trinary sun system like Zeolite does. They're the galactic core of the Milky Way. And they have their bodies on that world immortalized differently than the Sayres. The telomeres do not shrink in their DNA. It's higher genetic science. And the bodies they're showing you are 3.5 million years old, unaged. This is possible, even in the physical universe. These are the kind of beings people on Earth will one day want to embrace, one day want to know about, because they can be of tremendous benefit to life on Earth. They are not tyrants. They're not going to force it on anyone. We are out in space. The body's comfortably asleep, protected back on Earth. Each of you on this journey will experience a handsome man and woman, about 36, either with a Galactic Alliance uniform, sheer-fitting single-piece garment, with the symbol of a galaxy above a silver galaxy with a golden pyramid quartz capped above it, and 3 stars in triangle formation above it, blue stars. Or you'll just see people in single gowns like master teachers. And they'll stand to each side of you, very kind. They are human, and they're simply there to keep you from having negative subconscious influences affect you on this journey. They're turned off with your body back on Earth. We have gone on journeys in these out-of-body radio shows to other realities, all the way up to the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, something new brought into creation above the void, above Satnam's realm, between the 5th and the 6th major divisions above the void. And we have gone to other planets. We've gone to the Emerald Star Cruiser stationed in the ice rings around the planet Saturn, to meet with Galactic Alliance personnel from many world systems, because that ship is permanently stationed there for now. It's there in their patrols to make sure we don't blow ourselves up, because people on Earth, out of fear, will try to do it. They've done it before. The hue is source first sound energy. The hue is life. You are comprised of the very same energy as a spherical being. You cannot be destroyed ever, but bodies can be wiped out a dime a dozen here or there, really quite easily, but no being has ever been destroyed. So therefore, our purpose for existing is not about running a physical lifetime one time around the wheel on one planet for 80 or 90 years. No. It's about recovering the awareness to be responsible in eternity with the source and utilize energy and imagination with that one source, which is a co-creator with us, in ways that are only beneficial. Until we learn to do that, people remain trapped. Every negative thing that's ever been done in eternity, what people call hell, is taking place right on Earth, on its surface, right now, somewhere. And some of the most lofty, wondrous, loving things are also taking place, but you don't see them on the news. Earth to survive and its people is going to require massive help from outside this planet to survive. It's just that simple. We want a future in space, then we have to grow up. If you don't know how to do that, requesting assistance from those who can help you do it is essential. Let's go visit Zinteramus 1 near the galactic core of the Milky Way galaxy, just in the physical universe and just in this parallel dimension out of 144 in the physical dimension itself. Telepathic is pointing out in space, way beyond the moon. And as he does so, you begin to see a little flash of a beautiful cobalt blue star, brightly gleaming in space appear. And it whirls clockwise and then duplicates itself. And then there are thousands, then millions of these stars circling. And then it opens a long tunnel. It's narrow at the middle, goes from here, and way at the other end, all of us can see a planet much more beautiful than Earth. Oceans and land masses all over it, 4 times bigger than Earth, and 3 Earth-sized moons orbiting it. And there are pyramid structures on it, domed cities on it, and on the moons, the size of Earth circling it, and on the distance. Because we're seeing an overview of this solar system. There are many other planets out there circling a trinary sun system. Big white blue giant young star in the center, a yellow sun much smaller circling it, and a smaller sun circling it that's red. And suddenly we see Telepathic in the center of us in a circle around him, like stars around the center of a galaxy, moving as a group into this opening. And then we're shot at a beam of light all the way through it. And you look through the walls of this tunnel, and it's like blue-green water slowly moving clockwise. And you can see stars passing by on the other side. And you look ahead, and suddenly we're exiting that tunnel and hovering above the planet's atmosphere. You look behind you, and the vortex vanishes. Telepathic is still in space outside this planet. But when you look up and you see how many other beautiful stars, blue and yellow and orange and red and golden, how close they are to this world and to its central trinary sun system. Can you imagine what it would be like to look up in the sky at night, in the daytime on that world, even with the atmosphere, and see these wondrous things in your heavens that you do not see from Earth? When you look down on that planet, there are no polar ice caps. You can see in the distance a beam of radiant, powerful light coming out of the center of the galactic core of this galaxy, going upward. And it turns and curves and comes around in a toroidal field and back up through the bottom pole of the galaxy itself. And you look at Telepathic and you realize the same field of energy is around him. Him as a spherical being and his body that is energy. And then you realize the same toroidal field, electromagnetic field, if you want to call it that, is surrounding your physical energy form here, and you, the being, spherical, hovering above it. And you look down on this world and you realize the same field circling that planet from the pole to the bottom and back. And down on a continent near the equator, you begin to see from space a huge translucent ivory white dome in a city with pyramids, crystalline towers. It is not overpopulated. There is beautiful nature, well-planted trees, giant trees bigger than redwoods on earth, a mile high. And out in the distance, a golden, luminous, sandy curve of a half-moon bay beach and a blue-green luminous ocean. This planet is extremely well charged with energy. There is no negative nature in the beings that live here. There's no negative nature in the atmosphere. And there's no negative nature in the entire solar system. The beings that run this world have learned how to do away with that stuff. When you look at this dome, you see Torellian and all of us around him moving down until we pass right through the top of the dome. And we're hovering near the top. And when you look down, you see this massive, it's bigger than a soccer stadium. And there are concentric circles of white marble floor, 15 of them, and white leather-like chairs stationed all around all the levels, and 5,000 men and women sitting in those chairs with this white gown on and a golden sash from the right shoulder to the lower hip. And they stand up to greet us all with their hand raised, their right hand. And then they place it over their chest and nod. Torellian does the same in return. It'd be wise if you did it likewise. These are the Galactic Council members that represent over 450 million spacefaring worlds in multiple parallel dimensions of the physical universe. Torellian is standing on a blue round stage-like disc. And he is telepathically talking with the 5,000 members and with all of us who are hovering around him, near his head, circle. And he tells everyone there, they know it already, that these beings from Earth have come to visit their brothers and sisters on Zetranami 1 from Earth. And they go, oh my God, Earth? How are they able to do this? Torellian says, because they're getting assistance. So the council members all start chatting and laughing, and so we understand. Under his right arm, Torellian is now manifests, and now you see a big blue kind of leather-like cover. It's got the words the Savior's Agenda, but it's really, when he opens it, this huge being, this 18-foot tall being, we're looking down on it, and we can see him open to the middle of the book, and there are pages. And there are letters dancing from left to right in hieroglyphic fire symbols that keep moving. You can't read anything this way. And there's a beam of golden white light coming down the pages and right through Torellian's head and a separate one into the book. And his hands are radiating it. And what you're looking at, when you focus on those so-called words, they are three-dimensional holographic images of wisdom from the multidimensional creation. And when you focus on it, the energy from the book is beamed up into the white core of your being and out into these teardrops throughout it. It comes up through the body form that looks to be about 36 and flawless, through the toroidal field. It goes through the toroidal field surrounding you as a being. And then whatever gift is given you about this wisdom becomes permanent within your being. And it is geared to wake you up. It is geared, designed to help you recover what you were made to forget, one way or another. When you look at the pages as he turns them, they feel like they're like white metal. They have a consistency of metal, thin metal, not paper. And he closes the book, holds it out in front of himself, and it vanishes. A Torellian is telling everybody that the Seres agenda, or the new ray in the omnipresent living life force we know as you, is changing. There's a new ray of wisdom running through it. It has a different sound quality. It's more beautiful. And as we contact it and work with it outside the atmosphere of planet Earth, it begins to remove subconscious blocks and programs that have kept people from remembering who they are and why they exist and what their grand destiny is, which is to be a conscious, trustworthy co-creator with the source behind all life. Torellian snaps his fingers, and we find ourselves hovering around him outside the atmosphere of Earth in our solar system. Out 2/3 out and down one of the 7 spiral arms of the galaxy, far away from the galactic core. And you look at the moon and you realize this moon you're seeing around the Earth is full of atmosphere. And there's domed cities with pyramids in them, and nature and waterfalls and lakes, and it's turning on its axis. And you look at the Earth and you gasp because you see that the polar ice caps are not there. And there's one huge continent center over the equator from left to right. It moves up from each end to about 1/3 below the pole, curves down to the east, does the same below, 1/3 of the way above the South Pole. On the other side of the equator is a continent, 2/3 its side. It says Atla. You can read it in gold luminous letters right through the planet. And on the front, it says Lemuria, because this is a planet of Earth in the 3rd higher parallel dimension of the physical universe we're looking at. We came back to this world, little higher molecular time rate. And on that world, there is no negative nature. It is a protected planet. The moon is circling in an orbit with life on it, circling the Earth. The sun appears to be the same in the distance. The white golden light of the toroidal or 0-point energy of the omnipresent first sound, this living energy, surrounds this world too. When you look down near, right, the middle of the equator and follow it down near this point, this curved point, 1/3 of the way above the southern pole, you see a half moon base shaped, luminous, glowing green sandy beach against a beautiful tropical jungle, and a blue-green lake water glowing, and Torellian standing up to his knees in it, offshore. And suddenly you look down and you realize that your bare feet are wiggling in this emerald green glowing sand, and it feels warm and cooling. It's coming up your legs. It goes up to your head. You lift your head up smiling, goes into the white core of your being, the real you, looking down on this pure energy form that looks just like you. And that green energy goes into the white core and out to the layers that comprise the spherical nature of your being. You hear the sound of wind and humming bees and a high single note of a flute playing a hauntingly beautiful melody. In that hue, in that energy. And you reach down and pick up these green particles and you realize they are perfectly polished, transparent emerald crystals emitting a certain kind of energy. And you look inland and you see there's a brown moss-covered path, straight as an arrow, cut through the trees. And several miles back, you see it winds up into the hills, up to a single snow-capped mountain. And there's a big dome city on the lower plateau to the left. And up in this snow-capped mountain, 2/3 of the way towards the summit, is a cavern opening and a roaring waterfall. Blue-green luminous water is racing out of it, dropping straight down thousands of feet along a sheer cliff face to disappear in a blue-green forest that surrounds the backside of this dome. And in the dome are 3, off to the backside, 3 white alabaster, gold-crowned and quartz-capped pyramids surrounding a long ivory-colored dome building. And then there are other structures and minaret-like towers around it, and little white oval dome individual dwellings throughout the countryside, beautiful grasses, and white little paths leading around it to an oval-shaped blue-green lake. In the background, half of this city is a small mountain range with waterfalls cascading down its sides. That's put there for the aesthetic pleasure of the people that work there. A mile inland from the coast, off to the left, is a white marble floor clearing and a statue of a woman standing there. This is before we go up to that city, the domed city in the mountain. And it's a woman standing there, 10 feet tall, with her hands up, open, and a kind of an emerald green light glowing around them. It's made of polished quartz. And in it, it's transparent. You can see a woman just behind the surface of the quartz smiling at you. Around the statue is a gold band with a teardrop-shaped faceted emerald gold crystal. And when you look through it, you can see this woman is standing in a green field of energy in the air, levitating there. She has a beautiful gown on. She has this ivory-colored skin and long silver hair and violet eyes. And this green energy is coming from her hands. You can tell it's charging that beach. It's for a purpose. Beside her is standing her mate, a man a little taller, same kind of features, only masculine. And this is the zinteramus couple you met outside of Earth's atmosphere around Terrellian, beginning from the planet Zinteramus 1. So they brought this device, this statue, which is a channel of this couple, and they send a certain kind of energy of awareness through it to the beach you stood in that has to do with you being able to remember your lives and experiences in all the worlds, on many systems, in the lower worlds of time and space. And then they vanish. And you find yourself in space again with Terrellian. And you see the Earth with its polar ice caps as it is. The barren moon, no atmosphere. The sun. And the billions of stars twinkling in the distance. And you see yourself hovering outside your house, above where you live, looking at your city. Doesn't matter if it's day or night, because you are spherical and you are illuminating everywhere, so it looks like daylight to you, even though you know it's night to everyone else. If you're in daylight, it still lights up everything brighter than it normally is. And then you find yourself hovering above your body near the ceiling where you live. This is where this journey began. And you are endeavoring to send a little beam of white golden light from the white core of your being that contains this experience into the pineal gland, the center of your brain, and it moves out into the toroidal field of energy that surrounds your body, changing things for the better. And you are hovering above this body to the ceiling, and you see this same electromagnetic field, this toroidal energy circling you. And it's being moved out into that field as well. And then it continues until it reaches 3 pyramids that have been stationed on planet Earth in recent years that are turned on. 2 at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans. They are massive, bigger than the one in Egypt. White alabaster, gold crown, quartz capped. And inside it is the statue. Inside it is a 15-foot wide white alabaster fountain, scalloped edges. And standing it is a being named Satnam. That is a being that's stationed running the plane above the void. It is a device. And he's standing in this center of this statue. There's a white golden shaft of light coming down into his head. He has golden eyes, bronze skin. He looks like he's from India, but he is not. 2 gold bracelets on his upper arms, a white tunic dress from his waist down to his bare ankles, bare-chested, perfectly formed muscles. And he's got his hands, palms out, down at his sides, and this light is coming through the statue, through his palms, filling this fountain with a luminous white golden light, pouring in an even luminous sheet around it, vanishing through the floor into the Earth's core. And you can see through the pyramid and see this, and then it starts pulsing out, these donut-shaped rings of light out into the Earth, goes out through the whole planet and continues out into space. And it connects to other bigger pyramids. One is stationed in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter in our solar system. It's stationed between two stable asteroids, and it floats there. And there's a pyramid, a huge pyramid with a fountain in it. Then it connects to even larger pyramids being stationed between individual stars. And that energy continues to the galactic core of this galaxy, where it runs up the shaft of light and up into other realities. It is a continuous movement of the omnipresent living energy that is supporting and sustaining the entire creation that floats in it, including Earth, including you as a being. All you're doing is endeavoring to get that physical consciousness, personality, and brain, and the energy field around you to be able to humbly receive such awareness in higher realities and on these travels. So you see, you have to bring enlightenment to your form on Earth in order to have it. The creative imagination is the key to this. So when you're ready, look kindly upon yourself on Earth, and then open your eyes.
Thank you, Scott, for the journey. There are simple ways or simple steps to recall who you are. Reading your books, listen to our radio, go on the journeys, and just keep doing it, and then sometime, and ask the master beings to help to remove the secondary implant, and then people who are listening to our show, they could feel the changes in their life. I guarantee you for this, if you do it.
So, well, we always do this, but I'll do it again anyway, so that any newcomers who might find this video on Perry's YouTube channel, remember, there's no charge for this. This is what the Sayers agenda looks like. This is that mile-long ship I talked about stationed in the ice that makes up the rings of this planet, Saturn, in our solar system. These are Galactic Alliance scouts, 30 feet across, semi-spheric pods underneath, very advanced. This ship has a bridge control here, one on the other end, and this ship is entering the hull, not through an open launch bay door. It's changing into light and moving through it. So these ships are designed to travel clear across the galaxy. In this book is what beings out in the universe are doing right now and changing, that has to do and does involve itself with planet Earth and its people. Techniques are in the back, one for the prologue and all 29 chapters about the hue, so people, if they're willing,
and just from our journey,
they can start to have their own experiences. Yeah.
From the journey, Scott thoroughly show us the series books too, at the galactic core when we went.
This is the Emerald Doorway, book one of the Parallel Time trilogy. The other two, Guardians of the Ancient One and Journey to the Center of the Universe, is not the physical universe I'm talking about. They're about to be published this size, two more new covers, the next month or so. This is about and begins this experience on the front. Began 100,000 years ago when the poles changed and wiped out Lemuria. New continents rose from the sea, old ones sank. We get the continents we have today. It's a very violent affair. It happens overnight. These beings here, this blue-skinned woman, this Caucasian male, this little creature, this Adren, is levitating in the air when his tail grows opalescent in bright sunlight. He's a silica-based creature. He's now a master teacher. He's not human. He's cute as the Dickens, courageous as all get out. And this is a master teacher holding a crystal staff with the Egyptian symbol of the Ankh for eternal life on top. They're floating on anti-gravitic discs that ground you to them. This is Kalim's ship hovering there stationary. This is the Ancient One. From this fifth realm and higher, come down, this master teacher's introducing these three to this. What these three don't realize at this point in this journey is that one of these smaller is hovering above all their heads, including his. They find that out as time goes on. So this is about what happened in Galactic Alliance history and with the Galactic Alliance itself 100,000 years ago, because the elements in this book end up in present time on Earth. It's connected. And then this goes into the Sayres agenda, which is about what's happening now out there and about to change things, not only on Earth, but out in the universe. So you can get those. And I want to wish you and all the people who made you go on this journey or find your YouTube video, I just say to them, I'll see you lighter. Not later, lighter.
Thank you very much for watching, and thank you, Scott. And please subscribe, thumb up, and share these videos to benefit everyone. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Barry, for doing this. Yeah, it takes courage.
Thank you. See you next time.
See you next time.